Dragon for breakfast. A long time ago, in a land of mountains and lakes, stood a fine castle, where there lived a king called Ulf. Ulf was a kind king, but he could be grumpy, especially if his breakfast was late, and on this particular morning it was very late. To make matters worse, the top hadn't been taken off of his egg. Ulf gave it a sharp tap with his spoon. There was a strange squeaky noise, and a head popped out. Can you see what it is? Yes, it's a dragon. King Ulf couldn't believe his eyes. The little dragon stretched, wiggled his wings, and began to wash himself. Ulf stared and stared. He forgot he was hungry. He forgot he was cross. "Fetch the queen," he ordered the cook. The dragon hopped onto the king's hand and began to examine Ulf. First his moustache, then his chain of office. Ulf couldn't say a word. Yes, I think I'd be a bit shocked, wouldn't you? When the queen arrived, followed by the royal servants, the little dragon was busy eating the king's breakfast. He looked up and introduced himself. "Hello," he said. "My name is Grog. I'm a dragon." "So I see," said the king. "And you're eating my breakfast. What's left of it. First no egg, and now you eat my toast." "Your Majesty," said the cook, "I'll make you new breakfast with a proper egg and fresh toast." "Humph," said the king. Meanwhile, the dragon was doing a handstand. The queen started to laugh, but Ulf was not amused. "Leave the royal presents," he commanded the queen and the royal servants. "Now, young dragon, you can't have this sort of behaviour. If you want to stay, you will have to make yourself useful." "All right," said Grog. "I'll try." "I can't have you getting under my feet," said Ulf, "so off you go to the kitchen. The cook will look after you." Grog liked his new home. There was lots to eat. 3 weeks later, he looked a very different dragon. Yes, look, he's a lot bigger there, hasn't he? He's grown a lot. Grog thought he was very grown up and tried his best to help around the castle. But somehow things never seemed to go right. He tried to light the candles, but lit the cook's hat instead. He did his best to help with the laundry, but ended up setting fire to the queen's bloomers. Oh, Grog. He even aired the beds, but that was a disaster too. He helped with little jobs around the kitchen. Meanwhile, the cook got crosser and crosser until one day he decided that Grog had helped enough. "That's it," he said, stamping his foot. "That dragon's got to go." The cook called a meeting of all the royal servants and elected himself chairman. "Something's going to have to be done about that dragon," he said. The royal laundrywoman agreed. The royal housemaids agreed. Everyone agreed, so they formed a committee and went to see the king. "Your Majesty," they said, "that dragon is not a royal servant. He's a royal nuisance. Grog must go, or else we go on strike." Ulf was horrified. There hadn't been a strike in the kingdom for 100 years. That would mean no beds made, no fires lit, and no breakfast. The king sat up all night worrying. What could he do? "I must talk to that dragon," he said. Early the next morning he went to look for Grog. He found him hiding. "You're going to banish me, aren't you?" wept the dragon. But Ulf was a kind man. "I don't know what to do," he sighed. "But do blow your nose, there's a good dragon." And he handed Grog his handkerchief. Grog did as he was told, whereupon the handkerchief promptly burst into flames. The king chuckled. He had just had a bright idea. "You and all the royal servants will come to the throne room at 9 o'clock, he commanded. Later, when everyone was assembled, Ulf cleared his throat and puffed out his chest. "I have a very important announcement to make. I'd like it to be known that I've decided to give Grog a very special job." "Huh, I hope it's not in the kitchen," muttered the cook. "I don't want his help airing the beds," said the chairmaid. "All he's good for is burning things," grumbled the laundrywoman. "Exactly," said the king. "From now on, Grog will be the royal firelighter. Only he will be allowed to light the castle fires." Everyone cheered, even the cook. The strike was off. Grog glowed with pride as the king placed the badge of office around his neck. He was a happy dragon. That's good. He's got a special job now, hasn't he? The next morning, Grog awoke early and crept downstairs to begin his new job. But first he wanted to show the king how grateful he was. He would make the king's breakfast and take it to him in bed. And he would take extra care to make sure nothing was burned. He tiptoed quietly along the corridor and knocked on the king's bedroom door. A sleepy voice answered, "Come in." Grog walked proudly to the royal bed. The king gazed in horror at the egg and the soggy toast. "Not again, please," he whispered. "It couldn't happen again." Do you think he's worried he's going to get another dragon? The eggshell cracked. "But there aren't enough fires in the castle for 2 dragons," wailed Ulf. The shell gave a final creak and out popped a tiny head. The king stared. Then he chuckled and burst into roars of laughter. Grog just smiled. The end.